A museum is quiet for a reason. When you stand in front of an ultra-rare classic, the room almost asks you to lower your voice. Not because the car is fragile, though it can be, but because the idea inside it is sacred. History usually remembers the winners, the cars that sold in huge numbers, the models that filled streets and highways. But the automotive world has another kind of history, written by machines almost nobody saw. Ultra-rare cars that were too expensive, too advanced, or too strange for their own time. They didn't become famous because they were common. They became famous because they changed the direction of what came next. Tonight, we're not hunting ghosts. We're hunting fingerprints. Because even when an icon disappears from the road, its ideas can live on for decades. What makes an icon forgotten? A forgotten icon is not simply rare. It's influential, yet invisible. Its design gets copied quietly. Its technology becomes standard. Its philosophy spreads, even if the original model remains hidden in museums and private collections. And sometimes the world forgets the original name, while it continues driving the legacy every day. That's why this episode matters. Because you can't understand the present without seeing the rare machines that quietly invented it. The turbine dream, when a truck engine entered a car. In the 1960s, a group of engineers asked a question that sounds insane today. What if your car didn't need pistons at all? What if it used a turbine, like aircraft and heavy industrial machines? The result was a small run of turbine-powered cars placed into the hands of normal drivers for real-world testing. The idea was smooth power, fewer moving parts, and a futuristic promise. The problem was reality, cost, heat, fuel consumption, and the complexity of making a turbine behave in daily life. But the legacy wasn't failure. The legacy was courage. Because that project proved that the car industry was willing to gamble on entirely different power. It taught lessons about materials, heat management, drivability, and durability. Lessons that later reappeared in quieter ways, in better cooling systems, stronger alloys, and the never-ending pursuit of smooth, reliable performance. The road-legal race car, when a track monster learned to breathe. Some icons were built because rules demanded it. A racing program needed a street-legal version, a minimum production number, a paper trail. So engineers created machines that felt like race cars with license plates, loud, brutal, and barely domesticated. These road cars were never meant for traffic. They were meant to unlock victory. But the ripple effect was huge. Lightweight construction became desirable. Aerodynamics stopped being exotic. Cooling, braking, and suspension technology filtered down into performance cars for normal people. Every modern supercar owes something to these moments, when motorsport forced the future into the present. And here's what makes them forgotten icons. You may never see the original homologation special, but you drive its descendants every time a modern performance car feels stable at speed. The Toyota 2000 GT. The moment the world took Japan seriously. Before a certain era, many people dismissed Japan as a maker of practical, inexpensive cars. Then came a coupe with long, elegant proportions, a refined cabin, and engineering that felt grown up. It was rare, expensive to build, and produced in small numbers. But its true power was cultural. It changed perception. It told the world that Japanese manufacturers could build beauty, precision, and performance at the highest level. You can draw a straight line from that moment to the global respect Japan enjoys today in sports cars and engineering culture. The car itself is rare. Its impact is everywhere. The BMW 507, when beauty almost bankrupted a brand. Some icons are forgotten because they nearly destroyed the company that made them. The BMW 507 is the kind of car you look at and immediately understand. This is sculpture. But building sculpture is expensive. The project cost too much, sold too little, and became a financial wound. Yet the 507 helped define something BMW would later master: the idea that driving pleasure and design elegance could be a brand identity. It was a painful lesson that later became a business model. In other words, the 507 didn't win in its time. It helped BMW learn how to win later. Sometimes, the rarest classics are rare because a company couldn't afford to keep making them. The Porsche 959, when the future arrived early. Some cars are rare because they arrive too soon. In the 1980s, Porsche built a machine packed with technology that looked like science fiction. Advanced all-wheel drive, high-speed stability, serious turbo power, and materials that pointed to the future. It was expensive, complex, and produced in limited numbers. But the 959 became a blueprint. It proved that computers could make performance controllable. It helped define what usable speed could mean. And it influenced generations of high-performance cars that followed. When people talk about modern performance being easy, they're talking about a path the 959 helped pioneer. The car didn't just go fast. It taught the industry how to make fast feel safe. Coach-built rarities, when cars were handmade art. Here's another hidden source of influence: coach building. In certain eras, the rarest cars weren't rare because of technology. They were rare because they were made like tailored suits. Panels shaped by hand. Interiors finished like furniture. Details chosen by a customer, not a factory. Even if most people never owned a coach-built car, the industry watched. Because coach-built cars set standards for proportion, luxury, and design language. They showed manufacturers what premium could look like. And mass production spent decades trying to imitate that feeling at scale. The Ford GT40 road car, legends built from war. Some icons are born from conflict, competitive conflict. A company wants to prove a point. A rival must be beaten. A reputation must be built in public. So a race car is created, and a few street versions are made as a bridge between worlds. The GT40 story is not just speed, it's obsession. It's the idea that engineering can become a weapon in a cultural battle. And the legacy is not only in racing trophies. It's in the modern idea of the halo car, a machine built to change how people see a brand, even if most will never own it. That playbook is everywhere now, but it didn't start everywhere. It started with rare machines like this. The Miura SVJ, when a supercar learned to be a monster. There's a moment in history when a beautiful car stops being a car and becomes a category. The Miura helped create the modern supercar myth. Mid-engine drama, presence, and performance as theater. But some variants pushed that myth even further. Lighter, sharper, more extreme. Rare variants became the collector's obsession. And the influence is obvious today. The supercar world still worships that layout, that stance, that feeling of danger and romance mixed together. A rare variant doesn't need to be common to be influential. It only needs to be unforgettable. Why these forgotten icons matter. Here's the hidden truth. The rarest cars often carry the biggest ideas because they're not built for the average buyer. They're built to test the limits of technology, of design, of identity. Many of them were too costly, too complex, or too early. But the industry learned from them. And the cars you see every day, your traction control, your aerodynamics, your turbo efficiency, your brand myths, carry traces of these forgotten icons. So when you look at an ultra-rare classic in a museum, don't think of it as a trophy. Think of it as a prototype for the world you live in. Because some legends stay alive, not by being remembered, but by being copied into the future. Subscribe for more timeless automotive stories. Now tell me, which car or truck deserves its own episode next?